Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, and this is the final ever pre-season video I will be doing on this game and win this series, because here we are then for the pre-season video of season number 8 of our My Team career. We had a absolutely bonkers season 7, and I'm really hoping we can have an equally entertaining final season to kind of bow out on a real nice high on this game as we look forward to, obviously, later in the year in July, F1 2021 coming out. But you guys know the gist of this pre-season video before the season, kind of cluing you in on our brand new car, who our teammate is going to be, and what the setup is going into a new year. Now, off the bat, the first major change we're making going into this final season of this career mode is going to be changing the name back to Roche Racing. Last season, I decided to sign Lando Norris as my teammate, and when doing so, kind of bringing my actual esports team that I am in with Lando, Quadrant, into this series of ours for one season. But now we're returning to the old familiar name Roche Racing, because I think being the final ever season we're going to do of this My Team career on F1 2020, I think it's a nice touch to bring it back a little bit to the original idea we had at the very start of this game way back in July last year. And you can see that with the new overalls we've got going into this season. We kind of reverted back to a bit of a design we had in kind of thing season 4 and 5, but tweaked it a little bit. We've got a few splashes and inspirations from other seasons. Little things like having the main sponsor on the chest be Fly Emirates, which is from the kind of iconic season 3, of course, where we went on to win our first ever Drivers' Championship. We've got the Jordan logo on the top right that we kind of introduced, I think, in seasons 5 and 6. We've got the plus signs from the Quadrant livery on the right foot. On the left one, we've got that usual design we had before that I still really like, with the isometric triangles and then the little kind of chevrons all along. And then you can see we've got a merger with the Veloce and Quadrant logos on the side. And then, of course, the old faithful Strongbow Dart Fruit has returned on the overall set. And you'll see later on, much like the overalls, the car livery itself is also going to be a nice nod to a few different design concepts we've had over the season. So it's going to be kind of almost a nice splice and homage to the entire series, and kind of there's a little bit of every season on the car, on the overalls, as we enter the final ever season on this game. And so with that, and with Quadrant no longer being the mainstay sponsor of this team, we're actually going to be departing ways with Lando as our teammate. We're going to be saying goodbye to the lad, and we're going to be saying welcome back to our first ever teammate that we had on this game. Because we're going to go and try and sign Mick Schumacher, who right now is rated 81 overall. He's grown a lot in the 7 seasons as an AI driver. Of course, ever since we brought him into F1, he's never been a free agent again. He's always been an F1 seat, so he's always had races under his belt to gain experience. And of course, if you did watch last season, he won a race in a Haas. He won the Singapore Grand Prix, that mental race with so many safety cars. Mad tyre wear, very weird scenario, but he went on to win that one. So he is a proven race winner now. And so it's not just a case of us wanting to sign him to end off this series with the driver we started with on the other side of the garage. He's genuinely going to be, I think, a very quick driver. I think you guys will hopefully maybe appreciate seeing him and seeing the difference that we had. Because remember, in season 1, we got rid of him halfway through it for Jack Aitken because I felt Jack could do a slightly better job. So now, having him back in the team, and I genuinely think now you can see being 95 rated here initially, and this is before we do the pre-season training to him. He's 95 just because of the boosted stats he gets from being in our team with our HQ facilities. I think it's going to be a really cool thing to see how much better and how much quicker he is in the same car as me versus what we had in season 1. And stats-wise, he's had a massive glow up. I actually forgot, he was 60 rated when we signed him initially. I don't know if those base stats ever changed, with some patches or whatever, but when we recorded the first episode back in July last year, he was 60 rated, contract cost of 1 million, and now he's 95 rated, and he's got a contract cost of 20.2 million. So he has had a massive evolution in 8 seasons. And a final major admin decision we're going to be making is on the engine side of things, and you can see we're actually going to be moving back to Honda power. Honda, of course, were the first engine supplier we chose in seasons 1 and 2. We kept them for 2 seasons. Then we moved to Renault, and then our last 2 seasons we've been with Mercedes. Now, you can clearly see Honda are actually the worst power unit on the grid in terms of performance and durability. So not only is this a nice throwback and a nice, taking the team back to our roots in season 1, it's also going to give ourselves a direct challenge, because we know now going into this one, with the engines being maxed out, the base stat though is still going to be that Honda have the worst power unit on the grid versus everyone else. So even though we've got maxed out engines, there'll be that slight little lack of power in there that we're going to have to kind of factor in and maybe work with in terms of compromising on the setups all season long. But we're now here into the actual proper pre-season portion of the in-game calendar and the activity timeline. So we're going to go ahead and do some driver training, 5 days for Mick Schumacher. So he's 95 rated, so I don't know how high that's going to actually make him go. I'm hoping near to 100, and maybe later down the line in season we can do some more training, and eventually we might get a 100 rated Mick Schumacher. And once we get that, then he's pretty much as good, he should be in theory on paper as good as, Lando was or Russell was. Obviously there are, differences actually once we get on track, but, on paper we'll actually have a very good teammate. But now it is time to finally unveil our final ever new car on F1 2020 My Team Career Mode. Well, there she is, and I'm not gonna lie, this may actually be my favourite livery that we've done for this entire series. And I'm not just saying that because it's the final one. I think the idea of splicing a lot of the characteristics of different liveries in the past, sponsors, for example, together as well, is worked out really nicely. So what we've got here, and you'll see it if you watched last season and you paid attention to previous seasons, the kind of major part of the livery is a merger between the quadrant livery we had last season and the classic aarava Roche Racing Brawn GP style livery at the front end. You can see the side pod and engine cover is exactly the quadrant design, but we've got it in white and black to fit in with the white and black theme of the base of this team. The honeycomb vibe works really well on the engine cover. But then we return to the proper design style we had in the earlier seasons of the front end, with that kind of nose being that fluoro yellow at the front, but having it lined up alongside the white and the black. And sponsors-wise, we've got a nice nod to all the different sponsors we've had in the past, minus the one we had in season 1 because it was a bit naff, but we've got, a nice nod to Fly Emirates being the main sponsor on the front wing and also the side pod. We've got that kind of weird second season sponsor that I think means elephant in a different language on the engine cover. We've got Supreme there stickered also as well, and then also a few other returning sponsors from previous seasons. So it's essentially a nice big homage to many of the different designs and liveries and sponsors we've had in all 8 seasons in one. And so there is our brand new car. There is our teammate who's now 95 rated. But it's now time to look through the driver market and see what's what for this final season. So Alfa Romeo retained Nicholas Latifi and George Russell. Obviously, you guys well know how great Russell was last season in the Alfa Romeo. He won 2 races, so that means I think he's got 4 in total in his career. He won a race before in Alfa Romeo, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Won one race for us, obviously, in aarava Roche Racing in seasons, 6? And then won 2 races, quite amazingly, last season. And was dragging this Alfa Romeo to places where I just didn't think it was possible. And he's 91 rated, to be fair, on the base stats, so you can maybe see why. So it's going to be really exciting, I'm not going to lie, seeing him in this Alfa Romeo again, and just seeing where he can continue to take the team, actually. I kind of almost wanted him to move team in a way, because he deserved it, but also at the same time, it's kind of nice that he stays in Alfa Romeo, and that we're going to get to see what he can continue to do in that red and white car. AlphaTauri stays all the same, Valtteri Bottas and Nick de Vries. The livery, we are going to be changing it. You can see it's just a simple change of flipping the colours of the blue and the white, just to give a little bit of difference. We kept the Alfa Romeo livery the same, because I felt like there wasn't any kind of interesting one to me that I wanted to change it to, so I decided to stick with the white and red. But with AlphaTauri, I thought it needed some small little change here, so we decided to flip the colours around with this livery. We then move on to the Racing Point team, which of course has had an Aston Martin livery for the last 2-3 seasons we've had. They retain Lance Stroll and Alexander Albon. Of course, they've been very, very quick. They weren't quite there, though, in all the races. Like with McLaren also, like we'll mention, consistency was their biggest enemy, especially for them, more so than McLaren last year. They just weren't consistently there every single race, but I'm sure they have potential to be quick again in this final season of ours. We've changed the livery. It's still an Aston Martin livery, but it's a slightly different one. Different vibe. We've got a lime green streak. I'll leave a link below in the description if you want to check out this one on Race Department, so kudos to the person who made it. A really, really nice slick livery to end it off here with this Aston Martin Racing Point venture in our career mode of ours. And who knows, with a bit more consistently, finally, you know, maybe third or fourth time lucky, maybe this team can finally challenge for the title. I don't know. They were kind of caught up in a bit of a kind of upper tier midfield battle with Mercedes last year, and they kind of fell away a bit. Ferrari stay put with their lineup. Of course, we know, unfortunately, with this game, the driver market is not exactly as volatile and exciting as we'd want it to be. But to be fair, I've actually always really liked this vibe and this lineup with Ferrari, Leclerc, and then the Italian Giovinazzi alongside him. And, you know, Gio looked really good at times in previous seasons, but definitely last season, Leclerc had a few instances where he dragged that car up into places where it maybe didn't necessarily warrant to be, but they had a very tough time last season. But we've had this weird thing in our career mode save where it's kind of been a bit of a yo-yo effect. One season Ferrari will be good, and one season they're not, and the AI seems to make a massive difference to where the car is versus where they are on the R&D chart. So who knows, maybe for this final season we might see Ferrari back in the fray for the fight for the podiums and for race wins. Who knows, we'll see what Leclerc and Giovinazzi can do. We now come to Haas. Of course, we signed and stole away Mick Schumacher. He was alongside Kevin Magnussen, so they've signed Guan Yu Zhou to replace him, who was an F2 free agent. Don't think we've actually ever seen Zhou in the F1 teams. This is the first time he's featuring in Formula 1. It's only taken him 8 more years, but he's finally got there. He's 74 rated, so don't think he's going to be doing too much crazy business in the Haas. And to be fair, the Haas was one of the slowest teams on the grid last year, so don't think we're going to be seeing too much of them. And their new livery, which I thought would have a bit of fun with them. Yeah, we're hardly going to see them, to be honest, so we'll hardly see this livery, but it's a red and black McDonald's livery, because obviously they're American. McDonald's, need I say more? I think just a bit of fun, really. Like I said, I don't think we'll actually even see them that much, unfortunately, the entire time, but that's what we've got going on for Haas then in the final season. McLaren is going to retain Lewis Hamilton and Esteban Ocon. Of course, Daniel Ricciardo was the driver that retired last year into this one. Hamilton, somehow, for all that's happened to him and how far he's fallen from how quick he was in seasons 1 and 2, and then you guys have known if you watched on with the series, he's just not been the same driver. He's actually been so slow from seasons 3 till now. He had one major, breakthrough where he won the Spanish Grand Prix, but for the most part, he did impress a little bit here and there last season, but he was kind of still the same weird, slow Hamilton that we've all kind of grown to know in this career mode of ours. So I'm actually astounded that we're making to the end of this series and he's still not retired out of our career mode save. So that's bonkers, but I'm sure a lot of you guys actually enjoyed seeing him return to McLaren, enjoying a bit of a resurgence last season. So let's see if he can do more of the same this one, and let's see if McLaren can actually remain consistent throughout. Again, like with Racing Point, they look quick, but they just weren't quick enough every single race. They had, to be fair to them, some bad luck here and there with Ocon and Hamilton, so they just weren't quite there to challenge us in the Constructors, but maybe this one might be the one for them. They retain the Gulf Racing livery that we've had for now, I think 2-3 seasons, with that kind of lighter blue, of course, on the side pods, on top of that base orange. Moving on then to the Mercedes team, and they're going to be retaining Max Verstappen and Pierre Gasly. Now, this was a really interesting one, because initially, Verstappen won the first race of the season in Season 7, so I thought, okay, maybe Max is going to resurge a little bit, Gasly stepping in to that team, had a bit of an okay first season, but a little bit of bad luck here, but then Gasly basically just had the measure of him the entire time in Season 7, so it'll be really interesting to see if Verstappen bounces back. Obviously, Gasly won Brazil. He won the finale race, so I think he's going to have some momentum going going into this one, and we know from previous experiences that AI momentum is massive in this career mode game. So it'll be really interesting to see who comes out on top for this final one. But obviously a very, very strong pairing, really, of Verstappen and Gasly. We know how strong Gasly has been in the game, and we know how strong Verstappen is in real life and in the game as well. And they're going to return that really striking black and red livery that we debuted in Season 7 for them. And we're now going to move on to a very exciting driver change, and that's going to be that we've got Red Bull signing Lando Norris. So Lando and Carlos are going to be teammates once again. So we began this career mode with them in McLaren, and they're going to end it at Red Bull. So the Car-Lando bromance is back in the game, and Lando, 91 rated, goes to Red Bull. I did think there was a slight worry he was going to go straight across to Haas when I signed Mick, but it's great to see that he's filled in the vacated seat from an outgoing, retiring Daniel Ricciardo. And that's a really strong pairing, but the thing is, Red Bull was so slow last season. Like with Ferrari, they had a bit of a yo-yo effect where they just had a slump then, and they didn't get any kind of luck. They had a few instances where clearly they had some pace at some higher downforce circuits. So let's see, like Ferrari, will they have a chance to maybe be right up there? I kind of hope so. I kind of hope the arrival of an AI like Lando will be kind of in the background. I don't know how it exactly works, but I hope it'll be a kind of resurgence moment for them to get Lando and their team, and that we could see maybe Lando fighting us in a Red Bull. Who knows once we hit the track in Australia. But yeah, a very, very exciting pairing then for Red Bull. And I hope for your guys' sake, in terms of entertainment for the season, that we do see them get back up to the sharp end somewhat. And then rattling through the final two teams, then no changes at Renault with that Alpine livery that we've had now for a few seasons with Matsushita and Kvyat alongside one another. And then in the Williams car, Jack Aitken and Giotto returned. To be fair, they actually had some really exciting races. Remember Monza, where they both qualified in the top 10. Aitken got on the podium at the Singapore Grand Prix. So, you know, you never know. Let's see how they shape up. They might surprise us a few races and get in the mix. It seems like they have a very quick car on a straight line, which is why they're good at Italy. But then in most other places, they just kind of get nerfed by their aero. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can try and build on that maybe for this season and build some aero up and have a final little stab at it basically in Season 8. But yeah, so that pretty much brings us then on to the end of all the kind of admin to go through. We're just kind of looking through and kind of looking back through all the results of Seasons 1 to 7 you can see on your screen right now. And it's, you know, it's really cool to kind of look back at it in the menus like this and kind of really deep how many, you know, crazy races we've had over the seasons and episodes. You know, 140 episodes, that's a lot of races, a lot of action, and, you know, each season's been very unique. You know, Seasons 1, obviously getting into the game. 2, we got defeated by Leclerc at the finale by only one singular point. Season 3, we came back and got revenge on him and finally did that, but we had a ding-dong battle all season. Season 4, we had that bankrupt season where the team went bankrupt. We lost a lot of our sponsors. We lost a lot of performance. It was a building year. Sainz v Lando for the championship then, and Sainz won out on that one. Then we returned to form, and we actually partnered Pierre Gasly, one of our kind of old-time rival in the F1 game folklore there. Season 6 then, we had a complete rebrand with a Vodafone Mercedes car, starting off with Hamilton. Didn't quite work out with him, and we replaced him with George Russell for half a season. Maybe a short-lived stint in our team, but it is what it is. And then last season, of course, we became Quadrant AAR, got Lando in, had a season-long battle, and like I said at the very start, probably had the most bonkers season to date of this entire series, last one. So hopefully, more of the same, please, F1 2020. But that is it then. That is the pre-season done, and all that's left to do is kick off the season in Australia next time out. But guys, if you did enjoy the pre-season video and are liking the look of this final season of our F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, then be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for that upcoming season, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.